Chester, why should someone bother to do the research and invest in their sleep?
That's a great question. I mean, there's loads of like hacks and tools out there now, right? If you got the 8 sleep pods, which like I think like 3 to 5 grand, and they like cool your internal body temperature, waste of money, just like open your window. You've got, magnesium supplements people take. Um, you've got, yeah, like really expensive mattresses and pillows and things like that. And that's all well and good, right? But when it comes to actually investing in your sleep, you need to first invest in yourself to make a change, right? Because you can't expect these things like these sleep tools, these mattresses, these pillows, these supplements to actually make that big of a difference. And don't get me wrong, like they're an additional layer that you can incorporate, but the biggest difference is going to come from you actually like taking control of your health. So the main reasons like someone should actually invest in their sleep is because people invest in gym memberships, right? They invest in exercise, they invest in eating healthily. And the reason they do that is because they know they'll feel better. Their bodies will look better. They will feel more confident, more comfortable, be more productive, more focused. And sleep is the exact same thing. I would actually argue sleep is the most important layer when it comes to that, right? Sleep, sleep protects your brain. Sleep helps your body to recover. Sleep helps your mind to focus appropriately. So the reason that you should focus on sleep is really because it's an investment in your health. It's an investment in the future version of yourself to stop you from getting things like dementia. And it's also an investment in yourself right now to make sure that you can wake up, actually feel alert, productive, and just live the most fulfilled, best life that you can because you're not dragging your feet, powering through the day on 5 coffees.
Yeah, no, great points. I feel like, as you said, it is just a layer above the core work, which is just doing simple things, whether it's the time you eat, the room temperature, things are in your control and within reach.
Yeah.
Okay. What is something you learned that changed the way you view sleep?
Yeah, that's a really good question actually. I think the main thing is that you can't start with optimization, right? You can't be like, oh, I want to improve my sleep. I'm going to optimize it. I'm going to optimize it, right? I'm going to get the best possible sleep score, and I'm going to just wake up feeling amazing. Doesn't really work like that because as soon as you say, I want to optimize, I want to see a huge improvement straight away, is when you put pressure on yourself to sleep. Now, sleep only happens when you're in a state of relaxation. So if you're then like getting worked up or you're treating sleep as a performance game or something that you have to do to then, feel better in the day, be more productive, more energized, like don't get me wrong, those things do occur for better sleep. But if you really put pressure on yourself to get better sleep to do that, then your sleep's actually going to get worse. All right. So I would say the main thing is actually the things that you need to do when it comes to sleep is work out, okay, rather than thinking, okay, like what can I add in to make it better? What can you take away from to stop it from being poor, right?
Mm.
Because that's like really low friction, easy to get quick wins. And if you go from having a really poor sleep to average okay sleep, you're gonna start feeling a lot better in yourself, like from the jump.
And through your coaching of business owners and founders, what is a common trend you've seen and what can we learn from
Yeah, that's a great question. It's the identity, right? It's the feeling like they're never doing enough and the feeling that they always need to work harder and their mind's racing and they're never switching off. And they're always in this state of like, I don't want to say anxiety because not everyone has anxiety and not everyone like will associate with that, but more like a heightened state of stress because you can be stressed about feeling stressed. So you can like just know like, okay, this is just how I go about my day and execute. But then you look back and you realize, okay, like you've actually felt pretty tired in the mornings and you've been relying on like 3 coffees before 10 a.m. And, when it gets to 9, 10 p.m., you can't switch off and your mind is racing. You're waking up frequently in the night. Okay, well, you're overstimulated, okay? Um, and your body is in a state where it's struggling to relax and recover and perform at its best because you're at such a heightened state 24/7 because your identity is work, 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 because that's likely what you've seen has made the biggest difference, and you've done that your whole life. Whereas, so when I'm working with business owners and founders, a lot of the things are okay, addressing, getting them on a call, just like addressing, okay, how long has this been going on for? Why is it actually going on? And what are like the easiest things that we could do with this week to actually improve that or change it so that you can actually start sleeping better again and therefore perform more at 100% consistently rather than feeling like you're at 60%. Your battery is like half drained before you've even started the day. When you're starting on the back foot, and that all comes from an inability to get into deep restorative rest in the evening, essentially.
Mm. What would you say are some common misconceptions people have around sleep?
Mm, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I think the the blanket statement of you need to sleep like 8 hours is twisted. And I like to think and sleep more in cycles and stages because you can sleep 8 hours and still wake up feeling groggy and like you haven't even slept if your deep sleep and your REM sleep is too low. And that can commonly occur with spending a lot of time in bed, but not actually spending that time in bed sleeping. It's different, right? So if you're getting a lot of light sleep, but you're still getting 8 hours, you're still not going to feel great. Whereas if you're getting 7 hours, 6.5 hours, but you're getting a lot of deep REM sleep, you're going to be feeling good. You're going to be switched on. You're going to be like able to attack the day, right? I think the other thing is that you have to be wake if you want to be like the best business owner, you want to like be the most productive version of yourself, you have to wake up at like 5, 6 a.m. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe it has its advantages when it comes to having those hours in the morning where it's uninterrupted and you can just like get to work, right? I do it myself because I feel productive doing it. Now, I don't think it works for everyone because we all have our own individual body clock. So some people will naturally, your body will naturally be wired to wake up later. Some people will naturally be wired to wake up earlier, and some people in between, right? So you might have someone that naturally can wake up really easily between 5 and 6 a.m. You might have someone that can naturally wake up really easily between 7 and 8, and you might have someone that wakes up more easily between like 9 and 10. As a business owner, you can sort of like choose your hours, right? So don't necessarily think that you have to like compartmentalize yourself into waking up at 5 because that's what you've seen Alex Hormozy tell you to do. Rather, okay, if you can wake up 5 and 6 and you actually feel good and productive and you feel like you've had a good sleep, cool, do it. But if you don't feel productive and you wake up feeling like death, like a zombie, and you feel like you have to slam 5 coffees to actually even feel awake to your normal baseline, then okay, wake up a bit later and see how you feel. So you should always wake up and go to sleep at the time that your body likes to do it, because that's when you're going to feel the best and be most productive compared to trying to squeeze yourself into doing something that your body's not actually efficient at doing.
Yeah, I'm slightly guilty of that. I won't lie. I remember last year there were periods of time where we wake up around like 5:30 a.m. and my body got used to it. I think I managed to get productive and front load the work early in the morning. So by midday, my main work is pretty much done. But as I've done research around sleep and I've tried to be more consistent with it because when you're doing 5 days or 5:30s, you have to recover somehow. Sometimes you might go to bed a bit too late or you won't be able to sleep. So I've been pushing that forward around 7, 7:30, and I've seen that because I can stay more consistent, my days are actually more structured. So for me, that actually works better because even though I might not have as much time, I'll be able to attend to the work when I do it a bit better.
Yeah, and you've hit the nail on the head there, right? So consistency is one of the most important things when it comes to your sleep and your wake up times, right? So if you wake up at 5, half 5 every single day, but then on weekends you're then pushing that back and oversleeping because you feel like you haven't slept enough and you're compensating. That's not a cycle that you want to get into. Because your body clock is constantly going to be shifting. You're going to be getting like it's like an internal mini jet lag because you've then like changed your body clock. You're waking up later. go to bed like later. So yeah, if you know that you can't, I wake up at 5, between 5 and half 5, but I can keep that consistent because I go to bed early enough to keep that consistent, and my body clearly is okay with getting up at this time. If I knew that, like, if I was forcing myself into that, and like I would had a really like hard time going to bed early enough or getting tired early, and then I was waking up early and then getting like 5, 6 hours, but doing it anyway because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. You're gonna lose output and productivity from that. You're gonna be getting brain fog in the day. You're gonna be making mistakes in your work. So like you feel like you're getting more time, but if you think about it over the long term, you're actually gonna be losing time. Because say if it takes you an extra 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes to do said work because you don't feel as energized or productive, even though you've woken up an hour or 2 hours earlier, over the long term, you're losing hours because actually your efficiency or your output is reduced. I speak to many people and they're like, okay, I feel like it's taking me 2 hours to do things that it should be taking me 1 hour to do, right? So in that case, you're thinking what you're doing is helping you, but it's hindering you. So actually, if we reverse engineer that and we just prioritize the sleep and we individualize that to you, then okay, and you keep that consistent, and it's going to be a lot better for you in the long run, not just for your workout, but also for your health as well, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Uh, I have a kind of different question for you now. Uh, if I had 1 week, what would I do if I want to destroy it massively?
Destroy it. I tell you what, right? If you wanted to really destroy your sleep, what you would do is you would give yourself a really big incentive to sleep. So you'd be like, oh, if I can like really improve my sleep now, someone's going to pay me £100,000 or someone's going to pay me £1 million. You will not be able to sleep. I'm telling you now. And they actually did a study on this. So they gave people incentives. They're like, if you can, they took a group of people and they're like, the person out of you that sleeps the best or sleeps the most will get X amount of money, right? Guess what happened? Their sleep tanked. It got massively worse because of the internal pressure to sleep. We know that sleep can only happen when you're in a state of relaxation. So creating that external pressure then made it so that they couldn't sleep. So essentially, if you wanted to ruin your sleep, you would just, yeah, give yourself a huge incentive. Um, be like, okay, I'll be able to get an extra 100 grand if I sleep the best I ever have. You won't sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the night before a big day. Like, let's say you have a race or you have an interview. Sometimes people say they can't sleep. Sometimes I'm like that. I'm like,
Mm.
tomorrow's a big day. I need to, make sure I get a good sleep. And it's so ironic how it just doesn't work out that way. You still end up not sleeping. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, thank you very much for your points and your insights. And we'll speak soon.
100%.